Welcome to Story Tales. Please like this video and subscribe to Story Tales. I hope you enjoy the story. Let's begin. Cole Merrick sat at the dinner table, watching his wife arrange the silverware with precision. Everything in the Merrick household had its place, especially people. "Remember," Marla said, placing a smaller portion on Delaney's plate, "a disciplined body creates a disciplined mind." Cole noticed the tremor in his 14-year-old daughter's hand as she reached for her water glass. Her pianist's fingers looked thin and pale against the crystal. "How's the piece coming along for Friday's recital?" Cole asked. Before Delaney could answer, Marla cut in. "She's still struggling with the third movement. Aren't you, sweetie?" Her voice carried that saccharine tone Cole had come to recognize as her public voice. "I'll get it," Delaney said, eyes down. "My piano teacher thinks I just need more time with it." "Time isn't the issue," Marla replied, her smile never faltering. "Commitment is. We create our own excellence, don't we? Like I always tell my clients, excellence isn't an accident, it's a habit." Cole caught Delaney's subtle eye roll and felt a spark of satisfaction. His daughter was still in there somewhere. "I've printed out your practice schedule for tomorrow," Marla continued, sliding a color-coded sheet across the table. "I've added an extra hour before school. The recital's in 3 days, and we need to be the best version of ourselves by then." Cole watched as Delaney's shoulders hunched slightly. "She's been practicing 6 hours a day already, Marla. That's more than enough." "For mediocrity, sure," Marla replied, still smiling. "But Delaney isn't mediocre, are you, sweetheart?" "No, Mom," came the automatic response. "Julian stopped by the house today," Cole said, changing the subject. "Said he's offering a youth class at the gym if Delaney's interested." Marla's smile tightened. "Martial arts? That's hardly going to help her get into Juilliard. Besides, she doesn't have time for distractions." "It might help with her focus," Cole suggested. "Different types of discipline can complement each other. I've already got her on the optimal nutrition and exercise plan," Marla said dismissively. "Everything is calculated for peak performance, including her medication schedule." She tapped a small pill box beside Delaney's plate. "Don't forget these after dinner." Cole watched his daughter nod obediently. Something inside him shifted a tectonic plate, moving just millimeters, but enough to signal a coming quake. Later, Cole found Delaney at the piano, her fingers moving mechanically over the keys. When she missed a note, she flinched as if expecting punishment. "You know," Cole said quietly, "your grandfather used to say music should come from joy, not fear." Delaney's hand stopped, but she didn't turn around. "I'm not afraid. I'm just focused. There's a difference between focus and fear. One empowers you, the other depletes you." She finally looked at him, shadows under her eyes. "Mom says fear can be fuel too." Cole moved to sit beside her on the bench. "Your mother has her own way of looking at things. She says I need to be humble enough to recognize my weaknesses." "Being humble doesn't mean tearing yourself down," Cole said. "It means being honest about where you are and where you want to go." A small smile touched her lips. "That sounds easier." "It is," Cole said. "Want to play something just for fun? No practice, no perfection." Delaney glanced toward the kitchen where Marla was cleaning up. "I should really get this part right before tomorrow." Cole nodded, understanding. "Another time, then." He kissed the top of her head and left her to her practice, the weight in his chest growing heavier. Cole sat in his home office, memories playing behind his closed eyes, his father standing in their modest kitchen, arms crossed. "There's discipline, and there's cruelty. Know the difference, son." The lesson had come after Cole had been caught being too harsh with a younger teammate. His father hadn't yelled, he never did. But his quiet disappointment had cut deeper than any shouting could have. Strength isn't about making others feel small, his father had told him. It's about knowing when to use your power and when to show restraint. Cole opened his eyes. Through the window, he could see Marla in the backyard, filming another segment for her social media. Her posture was perfect as she spoke to the camera with practiced charisma. His phone buzzed with a text from Tasha, his colleague from work. "Just sent those security system specs you asked for." "Why the sudden interest in home surveillance?" Cole typed back, just being cautious. Thanks that he hadn't told anyone his suspicions yet. But he trusted Tasha's technical expertise, and he might need it soon. Movement caught his eye. Delaney was in her room, meticulously organizing her school supplies. Cole watched as she lined up her pencils by length, then rearranged them twice more. The behavior had started about a year ago. Around the time Marla's wellness coaching had taken off, he remembered Delaney at 10 laughing, messy, creative. Now she moved like someone navigating a minefield, careful of every step. His cell phone rang. It was Julian. "Hey, brother," his friend's voice came through. "You and the kiddo decide about those classes yet? Marla thinks it might interfere with piano," Cole replied, keeping his voice low to a brief silence. "You know, when you were deployed, you asked me to keep an eye on them. I still take that seriously." Cole's attention sharpened. "What have you seen?" "Nothing concrete," Julian admitted. "But Delaney seems different. Last time I saw her, she asked permission to get a glass of water from her own kitchen. Not from Marla, for me. Like she needed an adult to approve." Cole closed his eyes. "I've noticed changes too. You know my door's always open. For both of you." Later that night, while Marla was out with her brother Rhett, Cole did something he'd never done before. He went through her things, specifically her planner and the notes she kept on Delaney's schedule. The level of detail disturbed him. Every calorie was counted. Every minute accounted for. Even bathroom breaks were scheduled. And in the margins, little notes. "Showed weakness during practice. Implement consequence protocol 2. Cole's blood ran cold. What the hell was consequence protocol 2? He continued searching until he found a locked drawer in Marla's desk. His IT security background made quick work of the simple lock. Inside, he found detailed journals documenting Delaney's infractions and Marla's corrective measures. One entry from 3 months ago stood out. Dell complained about stomach pain after lunch. Likely excuse to avoid afternoon practice. Reminded her that pain is weakness leaving the body. Confiscated pain relief medication as consequence. Will return when she completes full practice schedule. Without complaints, Cole's hand shook as he replaced everything exactly as he'd found it. He needed more evidence, and he needed to be strategic. If Marla discovered he was onto her, she'd just get better at hiding it. That night, he lay awake long after Marla returned, listening to her steady breathing beside him and wondering how he'd missed the signs for so long. "Mr. Merrick, do you have a moment?" Cole paused at the door of Grace's piano studio. Delaney had already headed to the car after a lesson. "Of course, Mrs. Glassman," Cole replied, stepping back inside. Grace Glassman closed the door partially and lowered her voice. "I'm concerned about Delaney. Her playing." "No, her playing is exceptional as always. Has she been eating properly? She seems thinner, and there's a distance in her eyes. I've been teaching for 20 years, Mr. Merrick. I know the difference between normal performance anxiety and something deeper." Cole felt a mixture of validation and alarm. She's been under a lot of pressure with the upcoming recital. "This is more than recital nerves," Grace insisted. "Last week, her hand was shaking so badly she couldn't play her scales. When I suggested we take a break, she nearly had a panic attack. She kept saying she needed to maintain her schedule, or there would be consequences." Cole's jaw tightened. "Did she say what kind of consequences?" "No, but when I tried to give her a granola bar from my desk. I keep them for students who come straight from school, she refused it. Said it wasn't on her approved foods list." "It's not that," Cole said, more sharply than he intended. "At least, not the way you think. My wife is very nutrition conscious. She has Delaney on a strict diet." Grace didn't look convinced. "There's strict, and then there's harmful. Delaney needs energy to play at her level." Back in the car, Cole studied his daughter's profile. Her cheekbones seemed more pronounced than they had been a few months ago. "Mrs. Glassman thinks you're doing well," he said carefully. Delaney nodded. "She says I'm ready for the recital." "That's great. How do you feel about it?" A slight hesitation. "Prepared." "That's not what I asked." Delaney glanced at him, then back at the road. "I feel nervous. But Mom says nervousness is just energy I'm not channeling properly." "Your mom has a lot of theories," Cole said, keeping his tone neutral. "How about we stop for a snack? You must be hungry after practice." "I have my approved snack in my bag," Delaney said quickly. "What is it?" "Half an apple and 3 almonds." Cole's hands tightened on the steering wheel. "That's not enough after a 90-minute piano lesson, Delaware." Mom says hunger sharpens the mind. Cole pulled into a drive-thru. Well, Dad says the brain needs glucose to function. We're getting milkshakes. Panic flashed across Delaney's face. Dad, no. Mom will know. How would she know unless you tell her? Delaney looked down at her hands. She weighs me every morning and night. If I gain even half a pound, Cole felt something inside him harden into resolve. Delaney, look at me. He waited until she raised her eyes. What happens if you gain weight? She says I've failed the discipline test, Delaney whispered. That I'm letting weakness control me. She adjusts my food portions downward. And sometimes she stopped. Sometimes she what? Nothing. It doesn't matter. Cole drove past the restaurant, plans forming in his mind. It matters to me, Delaware. Everything about you matters to me. That evening, Cole installed a small camera in the kitchen medicine cabinet where Delaney's medications were kept. With her multiple allergies, Delaney took several pills daily, managed entirely by Marla. 3 days of footage revealed what he'd suspected. Marla opening Delaney's prescription bottles, replacing real pills with what looked like sugar pills, or emptying capsules and refilling them with something else. Cole documented everything, taking photos and saving the video files to a secure cloud account only he could access. Then he called Tasha. I need a favor, he said when she answered. It's personal, and I need absolute discretion. Those are my two specialties, Tasha replied. What's up? I need to recover deleted texts and emails from a phone, without the owner knowing. A pause. That's not exactly legal without a warrant, Cole. It's my wife's phone, Cole said, and it's about protecting my daughter. Another pause. Come by my place tonight. Bring the phone and your daughter's medical records if you have them. Later, in Tasha's apartment filled with computer equipment, Cole explained everything he'd discovered so far that Tasha's expression grew increasingly grim. Jesus, Cole, this is straight-up medical abuse. I need proof that will stand up in court, Cole said. I'm filing for emergency custody as soon as I have enough. What you've got already should be enough for a temporary order, Tasha said. But if you want something bulletproof. She took Marla's phone, which Cole had taken while she was in the shower. Give me an hour. While Tasha worked, Cole called Julian. I need your help, he said without preamble. And I need you to not ask too many questions right now. You got it, Julian replied instantly. What do you need? Surveillance equipment. The kind that isn't easily detected, and maybe some of your Marine Corps expertise. Is Delaney in danger? Julian's voice sharpened. Yes, Cole said simply, but I'm handling it. I just need to be strategic. Come by the gym tomorrow morning. Early. I'll have what you need. When Cole returned home that night, Marla was in their bedroom, working on her laptop. Where were you? She asked without looking up. Had to help Tasha with a security issue at work. Cole lied smoothly. Server vulnerability. Marla murmured, disinterested. Did you check on Delaney? She didn't finish her evening practice. She was asleep when I looked in, Cole said. Left her books out, though. She must have been studying late. Marla frowned. That's not acceptable. Her schedule clearly allocates study time from 7 to 8, practice from 8 to 9. Maybe she was tired, Cole suggested, watching her closely. The recital's tomorrow. She needs rest. Rest is earned, not given, Marla replied, finally looking up. I'll have to adjust her schedule tomorrow to make up for the lost practice time. Cole held her gaze. No, you won't. She's prepared enough. Something flickered in Marla's eyes, surprise at being challenged. I know what's best for her development, Cole. My methods get results. Your methods are extreme, Cole said, keeping his voice even. She's a child, not a project. Marla's smile was cold. Everyone's a project, Cole. Some just have better project managers than others. The recital hall buzzed with anticipation. Cole sat in the front row, watching Delaney backstage through the curtain gap. She stood apart from the other students, her hands opening and closing at her sides, her face pale. Marla sat beside him, perfectly poised in a cream-colored dress, her smile fixed. She looks focused, she whispered. Good. Cole said nothing. He'd been tracking Delaney's food intake all day, or rather, the lack of it. Marla had declared it a cleansing day to sharpen her mental acuity. No breakfast, a few cucumber slices for lunch, and as far as Cole could tell, none of her medication. He'd tried to intervene, offering Delaney a protein bar when Marla wasn't looking, but she'd refused, panic in her eyes. "Mom says nothing but water today," she'd whispered. "Please, Dad, I can't break the rules today. It's too important." Now, watching her sway slightly as she waited for her turn, Cole cursed himself for not being more insistent. "Delaney Merrick will be performing Chopin's Ballade No. 1 in G minor," the announcer said. Marla straightened in her seat, her hand finding Cole's arm and squeezing it tightly, a warning, not affection. Delaney walked to the grand piano, her steps careful. She sat, adjusted the bench, and placed her hands on the keys. The opening notes were hesitant but accurate. As the piece progressed, her confidence seemed to grow. 4 minutes in, during the most complex section of the piece, Delaney's right hand faltered. She recovered, but Cole could see the panic building on her face. She glanced toward the audience, toward Marla, and her fingers stumbled again. "Focus, Delaney," Marla whispered, too low for anyone but Cole to hear. "We don't quit." Delaney pushed on, but her playing grew increasingly unsteady. Then, halfway through a particularly demanding passage, her hands froze completely. She stared at the keys, her breathing rapid and shallow. Cole leaned forward, alarm building. Delaney looked up, directly at her mother. "I can't," she mouthed, and then she collapsed sideways off the bench. Chaos erupted. Cole vaulted onto the stage, reaching Delaney before anyone else. Her skin was clammy, her pulse rapid but weak. "Call an ambulance," he shouted, gathering her small body into his arms. Grace appeared at his side. "What happened? Is she diabetic?" "No, but she has severe allergies and—" Cole stopped, looking up as Marla pushed through the crowd, her face a mask of concern that didn't reach her eyes. "She's just overwhelmed," Marla announced loudly. "Stage fright. She gets nervous." "This isn't nerves," Cole snapped. "She's having a medical emergency." Paramedics arrived minutes later. As they loaded Delaney onto a stretcher, Cole heard a familiar voice. "What in heaven's name is all this drama about?" Lorna Ray Hensley, Marla's mother, pushed her way forward, her southern accent thickening with disapproval. "When I was her age, we played through fevers and broken fingers." "Not now, Mother," Marla said, her public smile firmly in place. "Delaney's just having a little episode. Aren't you, sweetheart?" But Delaney didn't respond. Her eyes were closed, her breathing shallow. In the ambulance, Cole held his daughter's hand while the paramedics started in 4 and checked her vitals. "Has she eaten today?" one asked. "Not much," Cole admitted. "Her mother had her on a cleanse." The paramedic's expression remained neutral, but her eyes hardened. "And her medications?" "The bracelet says she has several allergies." "She should have taken them this morning," Cole said, his voice tight. "But I'm not sure she did." At the hospital, a doctor approached after initial tests. "Mr. and Mrs. Merrick? Your daughter is stable now. We got her on glucose and antihistamines. Her tests show significant malnourishment and evidence of an allergic reaction." "Allergic to what?" Cole asked. "Based on her history, most likely gluten. There were traces in her system, but not enough to indicate a full meal. More like cross-contamination." Cole's eyes locked with Marla's. "Or deliberate exposure." Marla's face drained of color. "What the hell were you thinking?" Cole demanded once they were alone in the hospital corridor, his voice low but intense. "Keep your voice down," Marla hissed, glancing around. "This is hardly the place." "Answer me," Cole interrupted. "Why hasn't she been getting her medication? Why is she malnourished? What exactly are you trying to prove?" Marla squared her shoulders. "I'm trying to build her character, Cole. The world won't coddle her like you do." "Coddle her?" She collapsed on stage. "And she'll learn from it," Marla insisted. "Failure is the greatest teacher. How do you think I survived my childhood? By learning that pain builds strength." Cole stared at her, incredulous. "This isn't about your childhood. This is about you deliberately endangering our daughter." Marla's eyes narrowed. "I've never endangered her. I've challenged her. There's a difference." "The doctors found gluten in her system," Cole said. "You know what that does to her?" A slight hesitation. "She must have eaten something." "Stop lying," Cole's voice was quiet but deadly. They found traces, not a meal's worth. Like someone had been exposing her to small amounts. Enough to make her sick, but not enough to send her to the hospital. Until today, when you withheld her medication too. Marla's facade cracked slightly. She needs to build tolerance. The pills were making her soft, dependent. They were keeping her alive. She was using them as a crutch. Marla snapped, finally dropping the pretense. Just like she uses you. All this coddling is making her weak. She needs to learn that the world doesn't stop for discomfort. Anaphylaxis isn't discomfort, Marla. It's potentially fatal. I had it under control, Marla insisted. Small exposures build immunity. That's not how severe allergies work, and you know it, Cole said. This wasn't about building immunity. This was about control. Your control. Marla's expression hardened. She needed to learn humility. She was getting arrogant about her playing, thinking she didn't need to work as hard. Cole felt something inside him shift, the final tectonic plate moving before an earthquake. Humility, he repeated. You deliberately made our child sick to teach her humility. I was making her stronger, Marla insisted. Everything I've done has been for her benefit. My methods get results. Your methods nearly killed her today, Cole said, his voice deadly calm now. And they end now. Marla's laugh was sharp. You don't get to decide that, Cole. I'm her mother. I know what's best for her development. Do you know what my father taught me? Cole asked, his eyes never leaving hers. He taught me that there's a line. A clear line between discipline and cruelty. And when someone crosses that line with a child, he paused, letting the words hang between them. They forfeit their right to that child. Are you threatening me? Marla's voice was incredulous. I'm making you a promise, Cole replied. This ends now, one way or another. He turned and walked back into Delaney's room without waiting for a response. Over the next 3 days, Cole barely left the hospital. He slept in the chair beside Delaney's bed, coordinated with her doctors, and kept Marla at a distance with the help of hospital staff who had been quietly informed of the situation that on the evening of the 3rd day. As Delaney slept, Cole stepped into the hallway to take a call from Tasha. I've got everything, she said without preamble. Texts, emails, deleted notes, it's all here, and it's worse than you thought. She's been documenting everything, Cole, like some sick experiment. She even has spreadsheets tracking Delaney's compliance and resistance scores. Cole closed his eyes briefly. Send it all to my secure email. And Tasha, thank you. When he returned to the room, Delaney was awake, watching him with wary eyes. Is Mom coming back tonight? She asked. No, Cole said. And she won't be staying with us when you come home tomorrow, either. Delaney's eyes widened. What do you mean? Cole sat on the edge of the bed. Del, we need to talk about what's been happening. The medication, the food restrictions, all of it. I need you to be completely honest with me. Tears filled her eyes. I can't. Yes, you can, Cole said gently. No one's going to punish you for telling the truth. Not ever again. And so, in halting words, Delaney told him everything. The cleansing days before performances. The pills Marla would replace with sugar capsules to test her resilience. The way Marla would sprinkle allergens on her food to build tolerance, and then withhold her medication to teach her to push through discomfort. The punishments for gaining weight, missing notes during practice, or showing any emotion Marla deemed weak. Being locked in her room without dinner. Having her phone and books taken away. Being forced to practice until her fingers bled, then being told that champions play through pain. By the time she finished, Cole's hands were shaking with suppressed rage, but his voice remained steady. None of that was okay, he told her. None of it was your fault, and none of it is ever happening again. That night, after Delaney had fallen asleep again, Cole made 3 phone calls. The first was to his lawyer. The second was to Julian. The third was to Grace Glassman. And then he began to plan. Cole sat across from his lawyer, Sharon Takahashi, in her downtown office. Between them lay a stack of documents, medical records, transcripts of text messages, printouts of emails, and photographs. This is compelling evidence of medical abuse, Sharon said, reviewing the materials. Withholding prescribed medication, intentional allergen exposure, malnutrition, it's enough for emergency custody and a temporary restraining order. I want full custody, Cole said. Permanent. Sharon nodded. That's the end goal, but these cases take time. The emergency order buys us that time, while keeping Delaney safe. How quickly can we file? I can have the paperwork ready by tomorrow morning, Sharon replied. But Cole, once we file, Marla will be served immediately. She'll know you're taking legal action. Cole nodded. I'm counting on it. After the meeting, Cole drove to Julian's gym. The place was empty except for his friend, who was closing up for the night. How's Delaney? Julian asked as he let Cole in. Better. She's staying with Grace Glassman for a few days while I get everything in order. Julian raised an eyebrow. The piano teacher? You trust her that much? She suspected something was wrong long before I did, Cole said. And Marla doesn't know where she lives. Julian nodded, leading Cole to his office in the back. He unlocked a cabinet and pulled out a duffel bag. Everything you asked for, he said, unzipping it to reveal an array of surveillance equipment. Many cameras, audio recorders, GPS trackers, all military grade. Untraceable. Cole examined the equipment. You sure you want to be involved in this? It could get messy. Julian's expression hardened. You remember what I told you when you got back from deployment? I said I'd have your 6 until the day I die. That includes Delaney. Cole gripped his friend's shoulder. Thanks, Jules. What's the plan? Julian asked. Marla's birthday is in 3 weeks, Cole explained. She's been planning this elaborate party for months, inviting all her wellness clients, social media followers, potential sponsors. It's going to be her big networking event of the year, and you're going to crash it. A cold smile touched Cole's lips. No, I'm going to make sure it crashes itself. Later that evening, Cole met Tasha at a quiet coffee shop across town. She slid a flash drive across the table. Everything's on here, she said. I've organized it chronologically, with the most damning stuff highlighted. Those text exchanges with her brother about using Delaney as a case study for a parenting book? Stomach turning. Cole pocketed the drive. I need one more favor. Name it. I need access to her client list and event planning accounts. He outlined what he was looking to do. Tasha whistled low. That's comprehensive. You're not just looking to get custody. You want to burn her whole empire down. She built that empire on abusing our daughter, Cole said flatly. So yes, I want it gone. Over the next week, Cole methodically implemented his plan. He filed for emergency custody, which was granted within 48 hours based on the medical evidence. Marla was served with papers at her wellness studio, surrounded by clients. Cole had already moved Delaney's essential belongings to Grace's house and changed the locks on their home. When Marla called, raging, he answered calmly. You can't do this, she hissed. You can't just take my daughter. The court disagrees, Cole replied. You'll be allowed supervised visitation once the investigation is complete. Investigation? Cole, this is ridiculous. Everything I did was for her benefit. Tell that to the judge, Cole said before hanging up. With Tasha's help, he gained access to Marla's event planning accounts and began making subtle changes. The caterer for a birthday party suddenly had the wrong date. The venue received a cancellation email they didn't question. The guest list was quietly edited, with wrong addresses entered for key contacts. Each night, Cole checked in with Delaney by video call. Slowly, he saw small changes, her shoulders relaxing, her smile coming more easily. Grace reported that she was eating regularly and sleeping through the night for the first time in months. She played the piano yesterday, Grace told him. Just for fun. No agenda, no pressure. She played Disney songs for an hour and laughed when she hit wrong notes. The tightness in Cole's chest eased slightly. His daughter was still in there, underneath all the fear and anxiety Marla had instilled. But his work wasn't done. Not by a long shot. 2 weeks before Marla's birthday, Cole sat at his computer, Tasha on a video call on his second screen. The gift registry is done, Tasha reported. Every item has been replaced with a donation to the Children's Rights Foundation. Oh, and I found something interesting in her email exchanges with Rhett. What's that? Cole asked, typing commands into his own system. Looks like her brother's been handling the finances for her wellness brand, and there are some discrepancies. Large sums moving from her business account to his personal one. And get this, he's been charging her clients extra for premium content and pocketing the difference. Cole paused. Can you document all of that? It might be useful. Already on it, Tasha replied. Later that week, Cole received a call from Rhett. Cole, it's Rhett. We need to talk. Cole's grip tightened on the phone. We have nothing to talk about. Look, I know you're pissed at Marla, but you need to back off, Rhett insisted. This vendetta is affecting more than just her. You mean it's affecting your income stream? Cole replied coldly. Funny how those financial documents found their way to her accountant and the IRS. A sharp intake of breath. You son of a bitch. I'm curious, Rhett, Cole continued. Did you know what she was doing to Delaney? Or did you just not care as long as the money kept flowing? Marla's methods are unconventional, but she was poisoning her own daughter. Cole cut in, his voice deadly quiet. And you helped her cover it up. There are texts, Rhett. Lots of them. You advising her on how to hide what she was doing from me. You've got your own reckoning coming. This isn't about Delaney, Rhett snarled. This is about control. You couldn't control Marla, so you're destroying her instead. Cole laughed without humor. Projection is a hell of a thing, isn't it? That's exactly what Marla did to Delaney. Now you're both getting a taste of your own medicine. You'll regret this, Rhett threatened before hanging up. Cole set down his phone and opened his laptop. It was time to release the first wave. With a few keystrokes, he launched the website documenting Marla's abuse not to the public yet, but to a carefully selected audience. Local mom groups, the boards of the wellness companies still affiliated with Marla, and her remaining high-profile clients. Within an hour, his monitoring software showed the site was being shared in private messages and groups. The whispers had begun. Next, Cole activated a series of scheduled emails to be delivered to guests who were still planning to attend the party. Each contained a personalized message expressing concern about Marla's methods and a link to specific evidence related to the recipient's relationship with her, a BY noon. Marla's phone must have been blowing up with concerned messages and cancellations. She called Cole repeatedly, but he let the calls go to voicemail. Her messages grew increasingly desperate. What have you done? People are canceling left and right. The caterer just called to confirm they're coming tomorrow. The party is today. The venue says I canceled last week. I never canceled. Cole, answer your damn phone. At 5 p.m. on the day of Marla's party, Cole received a notification from the security system at his and Marla's home someone had entered using a key. He switched to the camera feed and saw Marla storming through the living room, still in makeup but her hair disheveled. Cole, she shouted to the empty house. I know you're behind this. All of it. She moved from room to room, growing increasingly agitated when she found no one. Finally, she entered Cole's office and spotted the computer on his desk, deliberately left on with a countdown clock displayed on the screen point 2:00:00. 1 hour, 59 minutes and 59 seconds. 1 hour, 59 minutes and 58 seconds. Marla stared at it, her face pale. Then she began searching through his desk drawers, looking for anything to stop whatever was coming next. Cole watched her panic with cold satisfaction. The countdown was just for show, a psychological tactic to increase her stress. The real timer was in his hand, a simple app on his phone that would trigger the final phase when he decided it was time at 6:30 p.m. Cole received confirmation that Marla had arrived at the venue and upscale event space she had rented months ago. The place was mostly empty save for a few confused staff members and a handful of guests who hadn't gotten the message about the cancellation or address change. Julian's hidden cameras showed Marla frantically trying to contact the caterer, the DJ, and missing guests. Her perfect makeup was now smudged, her carefully styled hair falling loose. Red arrived shortly after, looking nearly as frantic as his sister. Cole turned up the audio feed to hear their conversation. This is a disaster, Marla hissed. Half the guests think the party is at some address in the middle of nowhere, the other half think it's canceled, and the ones who are here are asking questions about Delaney. Calm down, Rhett urged. We can salvage this. I've called some people who owe me favors. They'll be here soon to fill out the crowd. That doesn't solve the catering problem, or the music problem, or the fact that my reputation is being systematically destroyed. Marla's voice rose hysterically. Keep your voice down, Rhett warned, glancing at the few guests who were setting up gift tables. We need to present a united front. Marla took a deep breath, visibly pulling herself together. You're right. This is just another challenge to overcome. We'll spin it somehow. As if on cue, more guests began to arrive, but many of them were looking at their phones, then at Marla with uncertain or concerned expressions. Cole knew they were receiving the final wave of evidence he had just released at 7 p.m. exactly. Cole activated the command on his phone. In the venue, the lights dimmed unexpectedly. A projector that had been secretly installed began to play on the main wall. The footage started with Delaney's collapse at the recital. Then came medical charts showing malnutrition and evidence of allergen exposure. Grace's testimony played next, her voice clear and professional as she detailed the changes she had observed in Delaney over months of lessons. She went from a confident, joyful player to a frightened child who flinched at mistakes. Grace said on screen. When I tried to give her a snack during a lesson, she panicked, saying it wasn't on her approved foods list and that there would be consequences if she ate it. The presentation continued with screenshots of Marla's text to Rhett. Dell failed the discipline test again today. Caught her sneaking food. Implementing consequence protocol 3, that she thinks the pills I'm giving her are her real meds. Perfect compliance tool. Using Dell as case study for chapter 4 of the book. Breaking resistance through controlled hardship. On screen, Marla lunged for the projector, but it was mounted too high to reach. Rhett tried to unplug it, but Julian had hidden the power source too well. Guests were recording now, some with expressions of horror, others with the gleeful look of people witnessing a social media-worthy meltdown. The final blow came when the projection switched to a live feed of the website Cole had created, now public and already being shared across multiple platforms. The hashtag the humility game was trending, with former clients coming forward with their own stories of Marla's extreme methods. In the venue, Marla collapsed into a chair, her carefully constructed image crumbling before her eyes. Rhett stood beside her, his own face ashen as financial documents appeared on screen, evidence of his embezzlement from her business accounts. Cole watched it all from his kitchen, feeling no joy, only a grim sense of justice being served. The damage was irreparable. By morning, Marla's wellness empire would be in ruins. Her clients would be gone, her sponsors withdrawn, her reputation destroyed. Just as she had nearly destroyed their daughter, it wasn't revenge. It was consequence. The aftermath of Marla's birthday disaster spread across social media like wildfire. Hashtag the humility game and hashtag Marla Merrick Truth were trending by midnight. By morning, every wellness company associated with her had issued statements severing ties. 3 days after the party, Cole's doorbell rang. When he opened it, he found Lorna Ray Hensley on his doorstep, her face tight with fury. "You've gone too far," she declared, pushing past him into the house. "My daughter is in shambles because of you." Cole closed the door calmly. "Your daughter is in shambles because her abuse was exposed." "Abuse?" Lorna snorted. "In my day, we called it parenting. You've always been too soft, Cole." Marla was just trying to prepare Delaney for the real world. By poisoning her? By withholding her medication? That's not preparation, Lorna. It's cruelty. Builds character, Lorna insisted. "Look at Marla. She went through the same thing, and she turned out fine." Cole stared at her, understanding dawning. "You did the same to her." Something flickered in Lorna's eyes, defensive, but with a hint of uncertainty. "I raised her to be strong, to not make excuses." "You broke her," Cole corrected. "And then she tried to break Delaney. The cycle stops here." "Where's my granddaughter?" Lorna demanded. "I have a right to see her." "No, you don't," Cole replied. "Not according to the emergency custody order, which specifically mentions you as a potentially harmful influence." Lorna's face flushed. "You'll regret this. We're family. Family doesn't poison family," Cole said, opening the door. "Goodbye, Lorna." Later that day, Cole received a text from a number he didn't recognize. When he opened it, he found a video of Marla, clearly recorded without her knowledge. She was sitting in what looked like a lawyer's office, her appearance disheveled, her eyes red from crying. "I don't care what it costs," she was saying to someone off camera. "I want him destroyed. Take everything, the house, his savings, his reputation. Make him pay for what he's done to me." The video ended, and a text followed. "Thought you should see what you're up against. She's unraveling. Be careful." J. Cole recognized the initial Julian had someone on the inside of Marla's legal team. He wasn't sure whether to be grateful or concerned about the extent of his friend's involvement. That night, Cole received a call from Sharon. Marla's lawyer reached out, she said without preamble. They want to discuss a settlement. Cole frowned. What kind of settlement? Marla will agree to supervised visitation only, with a licensed therapist present, in exchange for you removing the website and ceasing any further public actions against her. No, Cole said immediately. The website stays up as a warning to others who might follow her methods. As for visitation, that's for the court to decide based on what's best for Delaney. I thought you'd say that, Sharon replied. But I had to ask. The hearing is still on for next week. Be prepared they're going to paint you as obsessed with revenge, using Delaney as a pawn in your vendetta against Marla. Let them try, Cole said. The evidence speaks for itself. His phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. We need to talk. Face to face. Just you and me. For Delaney's sake. Marla Cole stared at the message for a long time before replying. Tomorrow. Noon. The coffee shop on Maple. Public place. No lawyers. Cole arrived at the coffee shop 20 minutes early, choosing a table in the corner with a clear view of both entrances. He ordered a black coffee and waited, his posture deceptively relaxed while his mind remained sharp and vigilant. Marla entered exactly at noon, a shadow of her former self. Her designer clothes had been replaced by jeans and a simple blouse, her hair pulled back in a ponytail instead of her usual perfect styling. She spotted him immediately and walked over, ignoring the whispers from people who recognized her from the viral videos. You came, she said, sitting across from him. I said I would, Cole replied, studying her. Her eyes were clear, no evidence of drugs or alcohol, just exhaustion and something else he couldn't quite identify. I've lost everything, Marla said without preamble. My clients, my sponsors, my reputation. Even my brother won't return my calls now that he's facing fraud charges. Those are the consequences of your actions, Cole said evenly. Not mine. Marla's laugh was hollow, still so righteous. You didn't have to destroy me so thoroughly, Cole. Taking Delaney would have been enough. This was never about hurting you, Cole corrected. It was about making sure you couldn't hurt anyone else. Your methods were dangerous, and you were teaching them to other parents. Marla looked down at her hands. I thought I was helping her, making her stronger. No, Cole said, his voice hardening. You knew exactly what you were doing. The journal entries, the spreadsheets, tracking her compliance, that wasn't misguided love. That was control, experimentation. I was raised the same way, Marla argued, a hint of her old defiance returning. It made me resilient. It made you cruel, Cole countered, and empty. So empty you had to fill yourself by controlling a child who trusted you. Marla's eyes flashed. You think you're so much better? Look at what you did to me. The methodical way you dismantled everything I built. That wasn't justice, Cole. That was vengeance. The difference, Cole said quietly, is that I never hurt Delaney to get to you. A tense silence fell between them. My lawyer says I should fight for partial custody, Marla finally said. That I could claim temporary insanity, get therapy, and eventually rebuild my relationship with Delaney. Cole didn't respond, waiting for her to continue. But I'm not going to, Marla sighed. Not now, at least. Delaney needs stability, not a court battle. What are you proposing? Cole asked cautiously. I'll agree to this supervised visitation. Once a week, with a therapist present. I'll take parenting classes, do whatever the court requires. Marla leaned forward. In exchange, I want you to stop the active campaign against me. Leave the website up if you must, but no more releases of private information. Cole considered her offer. It was more reasonable than he had expected. And Delaney? Will you respect her boundaries during these visits? No more discipline talk. No more guilt trips. I just want to see my daughter, Marla said. And for the first time, Cole heard genuine emotion in her voice. I know I've damaged her trust. I know it will take time to repair, if it ever can be. If Cole emphasized, that will be up to her, not me. I won't force her to see you if she doesn't want to. Marla nodded slowly. Understand. Cole stood up. I'll have Sharon draw up the agreement. But Marla, he added, his voice dropping to a cold, quiet tone, If you ever try to manipulate or harm Delaney again, in any way, what I've done so far will seem merciful by comparison." Marla looked up at him, and for a brief moment, he saw clarity in her eyes, recognition of the immovable force she had awakened in him. "I believe you," she said simply. The courtroom was silent as Judge Patricia Winters reviewed the final pieces of evidence. Cole sat at the plaintiff's table, his posture straight but not rigid, his expression calm but resolute. Across the aisle, Marla sat with her attorney, dressed conservatively in a navy suit, her hair pulled back in a modest bun, the picture of a concerned mother unfairly separated from her child. Behind her sat Lorna Ray, whose expression alternated between righteous indignation and theatrical dismay whenever particularly damning evidence was presented. "Your Honor," began Marla's attorney, a sleek woman named Rebecca Thornton. "While we acknowledge the concerning nature of some of the evidence presented, we must consider the overall context. Mrs. Merrick has an exemplary record as a parent in all other respects. Her daughter excels academically, participates in extracurricular activities, and has never shown signs of physical abuse that would warrant such an extreme measure as terminating parental rights." Judge Winters looked up from her notes. "Counsel, the medical records indicate multiple instances of deliberately induced allergic reactions and malnutrition. Are you suggesting that academic achievement somehow outweighs this?" Thornton adjusted her approach. "No, Your Honor. We're suggesting that Mrs. Merrick was operating under extreme psychological distress due to her own childhood trauma. Her methods, while misguided, came from a place of genuine concern for her daughter's future. With proper therapy and supervision, Mrs. Merrick can learn appropriate parenting techniques." Cole listened impassively. The psychological defense had been expected. Sharon had prepared him for it. "Mrs. Merrick has already begun intensive therapy," Thornton continued, gesturing to a report on the judge's desk. "Her therapist notes significant progress in recognizing the harmful patterns she was perpetuating from her own upbringing." Judge Winters turned to Sharon. "Counsel for the plaintiff, your response?" Sharon Takahashi stood, her small stature belying her formidable presence. "Your Honor, while we don't discount the importance of therapy, it doesn't erase the calculated nature of Mrs. Merrick's actions. This wasn't a parent losing control in a moment of stress. This was systematic abuse documented in Mrs. Merrick's own words." She approached the bench with a tablet. "With permission, I'd like to present Mrs. Merrick's personal journals, in which she meticulously tracked her daughter's infractions and her corresponding corrective measures over a period of 2 years." The judge reviewed the entries, her expression growing grimmer with each page. Next came Delaney's pediatrician, who confirmed the pattern of unexplained allergic reactions and weight loss that didn't align with normal adolescent development. Delaney's medical records show consistently decreasing weight over the past year, Dr. Rivera testified. When questioned separately, she admitted to me that she was following a special diet her mother had created to build discipline. By the afternoon session, Cole could sense the direction the case was taking. The evidence was simply too overwhelming. Even Thornton's skilled maneuvering couldn't overcome the systematic documentation of Marla's actions. When court reconvened, Judge Winters delivered her ruling with clear conviction. Based on the preponderance of evidence presented, this court finds that Marla Merrick engaged in a pattern of behavior constituting psychological and medical abuse of the minor child, Delaney Merrick. The court hereby grants full physical and legal custody to Cole Merrick. Cole remained still, his expression unchanged despite the victory. Mrs. Merrick will be permitted supervised visitation once monthly, contingent upon continued psychological treatment and completion of an approved parenting course. These visits will be conducted in the presence of a court-appointed supervisor and may be increased in frequency, pending evaluation after 6 months. Judge Winters looked directly at Marla. This court takes no pleasure in limiting a parent's access to their child. However, the primary consideration must always be the child's safety and well-being. Mrs. Merrick, you have demonstrated patterns of behavior inconsistent with that priority. She turned to Cole. Mr. Merrick, While the court is found in your favor, I strongly encourage you to support a healthy relationship between your daughter and her mother when appropriate and safe to do so. Children benefit from maintaining family connections when possible. Finally, the judge addressed Lorna Ray directly. The court is aware of a pending petition for grandparent visitation rights. Given the evidence presented in this case regarding Mrs. Hensley's influence on Mrs. Merrick's parenting methods, that petition is hereby denied. Lorna gasped audibly, while Marla's composure finally cracked, tears streaming down her face as she whispered something to her attorney. As they left the courtroom, Cole felt no triumph, only relief. The battle was over, but the healing was just beginning. 6 weeks after the custody hearing, Cole sat on a bench outside the office of Dr. Elena Patel, Delaney's therapist. Through the window, he could see Delaney sitting cross-legged in an armchair, talking animatedly about something. The sight of her gesturing freely, her face expressive, made his chest tight with a mixture of relief and lingering anger at how close they'd come to losing that spark. Dr. Patel had been a revelation. Unlike the rigid, results-oriented therapist Marla had once insisted upon, Elena was warm, patient, and specialized in trauma recovery for adolescents. Twice a week, Delaney spent an hour in her office, gradually unpacking the complex tangle of emotions left by years of psychological manipulation. When the session ended, Delaney emerged with a small smile. Dr. Elena says I'm making progress. I can see that, Cole replied, standing. You seem lighter. Delaney considered this. I guess I am. It's weird. I used to feel guilty about everything. Like literally everything. If I wanted an extra minute of sleep or a second helping at dinner. She trailed off. But now I'm learning that's not normal. Cole squeezed her shoulder gently. No, it's not. How do you feel about heading to Julian's gym? He mentioned you were making good progress on those self-defense basics. Delaney's face brightened. Can we? I've almost got the wrist escape move down. Julian's gym had become something of a sanctuary for both of them. After spending her formative years being told her body existed only as a vessel for achievement, Delaney was discovering the joy of movement for its own sake. Julian, with his patient instruction and zero-pressure approach, had been instrumental in that discovery. There she is, Julian called as they entered the gym. Ready to build on what we learned last time? Delaney nodded eagerly, dropping her backpack and joining him on the mat. Cole watched from a bench along the wall as Julian guided Delaney through a series of self-defense moves, not with the militant precision Marla would have demanded, but with an emphasis on confidence and bodily autonomy. Remember, Julian told her, the point isn't perfection. The point is knowing you can protect yourself if you need to. After the gym, they stopped by Grace's studio. Delaney had resumed piano lessons, but on her own terms now, playing pieces she enjoyed, with no pressure about competitions or recitals. How is she really doing? Grace asked quietly while Delaney practiced a contemporary piece she'd chosen herself. Better, Cole replied. Dr. Patel says she's making good progress, but there's still a lot to work through. The food issues persist. She still asks permission before eating anything that's not at a scheduled mealtime. Grace nodded. And the perfectionism. She had a meltdown last week over AB+ on a science quiz, Cole admitted. 3 hours of crying because she wasn't disciplined enough in her studying. That's to be expected, Grace said. Those thought patterns take time to rewire. But I've noticed she's becoming more willing to experiment with her playing, to take risks, try new interpretations. That's a good sign. From inside the studio, the music had shifted. Delaney was improvising now, adding her own flourishes to the piece. The sound of it, spontaneous, imperfect, but deeply felt, brought a lump to Cole's throat. Later that week, Delaney approached Cole as he worked in his home office. Dad, she stood in the doorway, fidgeting slightly. Can I ask you something? Cole turned from his computer. Of course. Dr. Elena thinks. She hesitated. She thinks it might be good for me to see Mom. Not right away, but maybe soon. Cole kept his expression neutral despite the immediate tightening in his chest. How do you feel about that? Delaney sank into the chair across from his desk. Scared, confused, but also, I don't know. I have questions only she can answer. That makes sense, Cole said carefully. You know you don't have to decide right now. Or ever, if you're not ready. I know, Delaney nodded. But Dr. Elena says avoiding it forever might make it bigger in my mind than it needs to be. Cole considered this. Dr. Patel is very wise. If and when you decide you're ready, we'll arrange it exactly according to the court's parameters. A supervisor present the whole time in a neutral location. And you can end it at any point if you feel uncomfortable. Would you be there too? Delaney asked, her voice small. If you want me to be, Cole assured her. Whatever makes you feel safest. Delaney seemed to relax slightly. Not yet, but soon maybe. 1 week later, Delaney had her first supervised visit with Marla. It was held at a family counseling center with a court-appointed supervisor. Cole waited in an adjoining room, respecting Delaney's wish to speak with her mother alone, but staying close enough to intervene if needed. Through the observation window, Cole watched their reunion. Marla moved forward as if to hug Delaney, then stopped herself, respecting the physical boundaries that had been established. Instead, she sat across from her daughter, hands folded in her lap. Thank you for agreeing to see me, Marla began, her voice pitched low. Delaney nodded, her posture guarded but not fearful. I have questions. I'll answer anything you ask, Marla promised. Completely honestly. What? Delaney asked simply. Why did you do those things to me? Marla seemed taken aback by the directness of the question, but she didn't deflect. The easy answer would be that I was treated the same way growing up. But that's not really an answer, is it? The truth is more complicated. She paused, gathering her thoughts. I convinced myself I was making you stronger, that the world is harsh and unforgiving, and that by controlling every aspect of your life, I was preparing you for it. But my therapist has helped me see that what I was really doing was trying to control my own fears through you. What fears? Delaney asked. Fear of failure. Fear of mediocrity. Fear that if I wasn't perfect, if you weren't perfect, we'd both be worthless. Marla's voice cracked slightly. My mother taught me that value comes from achievement, not existence. I believed it so deeply that I couldn't see what I was doing to you. Cole watched Delaney absorb this, her expression thoughtful. You hurt me, Delaney said finally. Not just my body with the food and the medicine. You hurt something inside me. I'm still trying to fix it. Tears filled Marla's eyes. I know, and I can never undo that damage. All I can do is tell you how deeply sorry I am, and show you through my actions that I'm changing. Dad says actions matter more than words. Delaney noted that a sad smile touched Marla's lips. Your father is right. He always saw things more clearly than I did. They continued talking for nearly the full hour, Delaney asking pointed questions and Marla answering with what appeared to be genuine remorse. As the visit concluded, Marla looked directly at her daughter. I don't expect forgiveness, Delaney. What I did was unforgivable. But I hope that someday we might find a new kind of relationship, one based on respect for who you actually are, not who I tried to make you be. Delaney considered this. Maybe. I don't know yet. That's fair. Marla acknowledged. Whatever you decide, I'll respect it. After the visit, Delaney told Cole that Marla had asked to speak with him. He agreed to one conversation. With the supervisor present 3 days later, Cole found himself sitting across from Marla in the same counseling center. She looked thinner than when he'd last seen her, shadows under her eyes despite the careful makeup she'd applied. Thank you for agreeing to this, she began. Cole said nothing, his face impassive. Marla took a deep breath. I wanted to apologize to you directly, not just for what I did to Delaney, but for how I betrayed your trust as a parent and partner. I'm not here for apologies, Cole said, his voice level. I'm here because Delaney asked me to come. I understand, Marla nodded, but I need to say this anyway. She clasped her hands tightly in her lap. I was so focused on creating the perfect image, the perfect family, the perfect child, the perfect life that I lost sight of what actually matters. I hurt our daughter, and I hurt you by extension. This isn't about me, Cole replied. It never was. No, Marla agreed. But you were the one who saw what was happening when everyone else bought into my facade. You were the one who protected her when I was the threat she needed protection from. Her voice caught. You were the parent I failed to be. Cole's expression remained unchanged. Is there a question in there somewhere? Cole, Marla leaned forward. We were married for 15 years. We built a life together. Doesn't that count for anything? Something cold and final settled in Cole's eyes. You used our daughter to feed your ego. I don't forgive people like you. Marla flinched as if struck. I'm trying to change. For Delaney's sake, I hope you are, Cole replied. But some things can't be undone, Marla. Some trust, once broken, stays broken. As they prepared to leave, Marla made one last attempt. I know you don't believe me, but I am sorry, Cole. Truly sorry. Cole paused at the door, turning to face her fully. Sorrow doesn't erase consequences, Marla. You'll have to live with yours, just as Delaney will have to live with the scars you gave her. Without waiting for a response, he turned and walked away. Cole was at work when the call came from his lawyer, Sharon Takahashi. You need to see this, Sharon said without preamble. I'm sending a link to your email now. It's going to be on every news outlet by the evening. Cole opened the email on his laptop and clicked the link to a local news site. The headline made him pause. Wellness guru faces class action lawsuit. Former clients allege psychological harm from toxic parenting advice. Skimming the article, Cole learned that a woman named Rebecca Young, once one of Marla's most devoted clients, had filed a lawsuit claiming that Marla's parenting methods had caused significant and lasting psychological harm to her 10-year-old son. More significantly, 15 other former clients had joined the suit, creating a potential class action. I didn't initiate this, Cole said immediately. I know, Sharon assured him. This is entirely separate from our case. Ms. Young apparently implemented Marla's discipline protocols with her son, resulting in anxiety disorders and an eating disorder that required hospitalization. When news of your custody case became public, she connected the dots. Cole found a quote from Rebecca Young. I trusted Marla Merrick as a parenting expert. I paid thousands for her coaching, followed her methods exactly, and watched my happy child transform into an anxious, fearful person who thought his worth depended on perfect compliance. When I learned what she had done to her own daughter, I realized I'd been complicit in abusing my son. What does this mean for Delaney? Cole asked, his primary concern immediate. Nothing directly, Sharon replied. The lawsuit doesn't name either of you, but it will bring public attention back to Marla's methods and, by extension, what happened to Delaney. So we need to prepare her, Cole concluded. When Delaney arrived home from school, Cole was waiting in the living room. Hey, kiddo, he greeted her. How was school? Good, Delaney replied, dropping her backpack by the door, a small act of normal teenage messiness that would have earned her punishment in Marla's regime. Ms. Patel assigned us a cool project on ecosystems. That sounds interesting, Cole said. Listen, there's something we need to talk about. He explained the lawsuit in simple terms, careful not to editorialize or express satisfaction. Delaney listened attentively, her brow furrowed in concentration. So these people are saying Mom hurt their kids too? With the same stuff she did to me? She finally asked. Yes, Cole confirmed. And they're seeking damages money to compensate for therapy costs and emotional suffering. Delaney was quiet for a moment, processing. I feel bad for those kids. The simple statement, focused on the other children rather than herself, made Cole's chest tighten with pride. Despite everything, Delaney's capacity for empathy remained intact. I know, he said. So do I. Will Mom go to jail? Delaney asked, her voice smaller. No, Cole explained. This is a civil suit, not criminal charges. It's about financial compensation, not incarceration. Delaney nodded, relief evident in her posture despite her complicated feelings toward her mother. What does it mean for us? You might hear people talking about it, Cole said. At school, online, or elsewhere. I wanted you to be prepared and to know that you don't have to answer anyone's questions or explain anything. This isn't your responsibility to manage. The lawsuit continued to grow, with more former clients coming forward. A local journalist named Andrea Martinez published a feature article detailing Marla's rise and fall, including interviews with several affected families. The piece connected Marla's methods to broader concerning trends in tough love, parenting philosophies, Using testimony from child psychologists who condemned the approaches Marla had championed. One evening, Cole received a text from a number he didn't recognize. "You probably don't want to hear from me, but I thought you should know I've been contacted about being a witness in a lawsuit against Marla. They want me to testify about what I knew regarding her methods. I'm going to do it. It's time I took responsibility for my part in all this." Rhett Cole was surprised. Marla's brother had always been driven by self-interest, quick to cover his own involvement in any scheme that went wrong. His willingness to testify suggested either a genuine change of heart or, more likely, an attempt to mitigate his own legal exposure. Either way, it was another nail in the coffin of Marla's defense. The performance hall looked different, somehow smaller, less imposing than Cole remembered. Perhaps it was simply the contrast between then and now, between the tense father watching his daughter being pushed beyond her limits and the cautiously hopeful one sitting here today. The spring showcase was well attended, the program featuring advanced students from several local music teachers. Grace had arranged for Delaney to perform in the middle of the program, not the high-pressure closing spot she'd had before, but not hidden at the beginning either. A position of respect without unnecessary tension. Cole sat in the same seat he'd occupied that fateful day months ago, but this time Marla's place beside him was empty. Instead, Julian sat to his right, with Tasha, Dr. Patel, and several of Cole's co-workers filling the row, behind them Delaney's impromptu support system. When Delaney's turn came, Cole felt his hands tighten on the armrests. She walked to the piano with measured steps, not the rigid posture Marla had drilled into her, but not slouching either. Finding her own balance. She sat, adjusted the bench, and took a deep breath. Then, without the paralyzed hesitation that had marked her last performance, she began to play. She had chosen Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata, specifically the first movement, with its contemplative, flowing quality. Not a piece meant to showcase technical virtuosity, but one that required emotional depth and interpretive skill. A piece that spoke of both melancholy and hope. Cole watched her hands move across the keyboard with a fluidity that had been absent before. Where once she had played like someone navigating a minefield, now she moved like someone following a familiar path through a beloved landscape, respectful of its contours, but not afraid of them. In the quiet, introspective passages, Cole could hear Delaney's own voice emerging, subtle variations in tempo and emphasis that made the familiar piece distinctly hers. When she reached a particularly delicate section, her fingers faltered slightly, a minor hesitation that once would have sent her spiraling into panic. Instead, she paused, took a breath, and continued, the brief imperfection absorbed into the overall flow of the piece rather than disrupting it. Cole felt a tightness in his throat at this small but significant victory. As the final notes faded, a moment of silence hung in the air the audience caught in the spell Delaney had woven. Then applause erupted, genuine and warm. Some people even rose to their feet, including Dr. Patel and Grace, who had slipped in from backstage to watch. Delaney looked up, surprise and pleasure washing across her face. She stood, performed a small, graceful bow, and then in a moment that caught Cole off guard smiled directly at him, a real smile that reached her eyes. Cole didn't smile back. Instead, he gave her a single, deliberate nod, a gesture of acknowledgement that carried more weight than any grin could have. It said, "I see you. I see your strength. I see your courage. And I respect it." It was enough. More than enough that, as they drove home afterward, Cole glanced at his daughter in the passenger seat. The tense, anxious girl who had once measured every word, every movement, every bite of food against an impossible standard was fading. In her place was emerging a young woman who understood that worth came from within, not from the approval of others. The healing wasn't complete, might never be entirely complete. There would still be therapy sessions, difficult days, moments when old patterns reasserted themselves. The lawsuit against Marla would continue to unfold, bringing fresh reminders of painful times. But tonight, in this moment, they had reclaimed something vital. Not just a stage or a performance, but Delaney's right to define herself on her own terms. To play music because she loved it, not because someone else demanded perfection. To be human, With all the beautiful imperfections that entailed, Cole had never needed revenge for himself, only justice for his daughter. And as he watched her gaze out the window, humming softly to herself without self-consciousness or fear, he knew she had found something more valuable than either: freedom.